chainers, wherever you are in the world. This is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey with you today. Are you ready? Let's talk supply chain. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Thoughts and Coffee. It is another Tuesday, and I am still here in Florida. I will be back in my home office next week. My name is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey. I'm the founder and host of Let's Talk Supply Chain, as well as the Blended Podcast, and also the founder of the Blended Pledge. And I'm super excited to be here with you today. My trade bestie, Audrey Ross, is going to be joining me. And we've got some fun stuff to talk about. I mean, we're doing deliveries without delivery addresses anymore. If you don't know what I'm talking about, well, you're going to hear all about it later on in the show. But before we get started, say you're at work and all the lights flicker and then go out. You try to move and bump into something. You turn and bump into something else. You can't work like this. You need to be able to see what's happening. Well, this is exactly how your inventory feels. Fastenal has unique inventory solutions that sends data to the cloud and helps you avoid stockouts while not carrying excess inventory. Don't stay in the dark. Let Fastenal shine a light on the parts and supplies that keep your business running. Go to fastenal.com/LTSC to see how they do it. All right. So what is happening with Let's Talk Supply Chain this week? Well, we've got a brand new episode. Now, Martin joined me on the show to talk about their platform called Comtrex, and they are simplifying freight. If you are not moving freight by rail, you definitely want to listen to this episode because he goes into all the reasons why you want to take a look at it. He also has an amazing platform that you can use that's going to make it easier for you to do it as well. So go and check out that episode. It's episode 352, wherever you listen to the Let's Talk Supply Chain podcast. We've even put the links in the comments as well. You can find it on letstalksupplychain.com and over on our YouTube channel. All right. Now I've got some really exciting news. You guys have heard me talking about the secret society of supply chain for a while now, and we are going to be launching, there's 3 groups, and we're going to be launching each group individually. And wait for it. If you have not signed up yet, you want to go and take the quiz and join the wait list now, because our Woman in Supply Chain is launching this week, and you do not want to miss out on it. You want to become a founding member, and we're going to be kicking off those regular monthly meetings as of September. And so we're only going to be opening it up for a couple of weeks for signups to really join and become a member. So join us, and we'd love to have you. I cannot wait to share with you more about what is coming up. All right, we've got LogTech. This is what I get for doing this while I'm on vacation. LogTech Live with Eric Johnson on Friday. How to leverage predictive data and AI in LogTech. So many of you have asked me to talk more about AI in logistics. Well, Eric is doing just that on Friday. So if you can't attend live, still click the attend button, because I will send you the recording so that you don't miss a minute of this. And I can't wait for this because a lot of people are talking about AI in logistics right now. So definitely check that out. And we made an announcement at the end of last week. Jonathan Kempe is moving on and doing other things. So he will no longer be part of Let's Talk Supply Chain Asia Pac, but he will be forever a part of the team here at Let's Talk Supply Chain. So we gave him a bit of a send off. And we hope that he is, on to bigger and better things. And we can't wait to be his cheerleader while he does that. So wanted to just let you guys know if any of you have not seen that post. And last but not least, we've got the Supply Chain Minute. So Mike Bush at Envase was talking about trucking and drayage in last week's Supply Chain Minute. So if you missed it, we've got the link in the comments for you. So go and check it out, because every week Mike is giving us the tea on trucking, drayage, logistics, supply chain. So definitely check that out every single Thursday morning. All right. Well, without further ado, it's time to bring up Miss Audrey Ross. Good morning.
Morning.
I see we have a little bit of a visitor. I see those ears. Who
We
is
do
that?
have a little. We'll see. We'll see if he pops up and says
Oh,
hello.
hello.
Yeah.
Who's that?
No, we're not sure yet. We haven't named him.
You haven't. Is this a new cat?
Newish. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, Monet's snoozing in the back in the other room.
Oh, nice. Nice. So, for anybody who doesn't know you, tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Sure. Okay. My name is Audrey Ross. I'm the Import and Export Compliance Manager at IBG North America, or Orchard Custom Beauty. We're an award-winning business-to-business private labeling company specializing in beauty tools, cosmetics, and bath accessories. So I keep busy with kind of running some international trade, shipments, customs. Right now, I'm becoming more of a warehouse export, like
Nice.
third-party warehouses in other countries and
That's
customer
always fun.
portals and platforms. So it's been an interesting summer. So yeah.
I love it. Well, you're going to give us a market update anyways. And we haven't
Yeah.
seen Mike in a while. Hey, Mike.
I
Thanks for joining us
know.
this morning. You and I need to catch up anyways. So hopefully we
Yeah.
can do that offline. All right. Well, let's get to our poll of the week. And actually, before we get to the poll that we asked everybody on LinkedIn, I asked everybody on, I don't know about you, but I only just noticed that the logo for the Twitter app changed to X.
Oh, you didn't know?
And it was, well, I knew it was happening, but I hadn't seen it on my phone yet.
Yeah.
And I like literally saw it yesterday. And I was like, I don't know how much I like this. I feel like the blue and white with the bird was so light and airy and
Yeah.
amazing. And this X is so just like dark, and I don't really like it. So I did a poll on my Instagram stories, and I want to make sure everybody is following me over on Instagram because it's where I actually share most of my stories and what's going on. But I asked a poll, am I out? Like, I really don't like this. I'm out, not using X or Twitter or whatever the hell it is anymore. Or yes, I love the rebrand. And 75% of people were like, nope, I'm out. I hate it. What do you
No,
think?
it's I've seen a couple of memes on this. One was the other brands that use X in their branding are all porn sites. So it's an interesting choice to like, not sure what sort of marketing or brand logo research they did, but when you look at like other icons that people use, like the only times people use, like, you're like, okay, interesting choice. I don't know. And then the other one I saw was great from it's a German wildlife association. I keep meaning to send it to you, but it like has the little transformation of Twitter's logos like over the last like 10 or 15 years. And it's like bird, 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 and then X. And it's like, we need to protect wildlife before it's not around anymore. So I thought that was like, everybody's like, that's really savvy. That's a good
I
one.
love
I don't
that.
know. I feel like I shouldn't be on Twitter anymore. It's tough.
But
Like,
you
it's like
love it.
someone
Like,
came into your house and like just like upended the furniture, and you're like, what are
right.
you doing?
Mhm.
Like it's just really. I think a lot of people. I made some incredible connections. I
Yeah.
survived Brexit because of the people I met who were able to help me. Like literally, people would give you links on. Here's the customs link. I'm a customs expert. I'm an expert in law. Like this is what's going to happen. Like it's tough. Maybe we're just sort of in denial or grieving, but
Yeah. Well,
it's
and
tough.
I love your analogy of that they've come in and upended the furniture, like
Yeah.
totally upended it
Yeah.
or broke in and took it
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
And I want to hear from everybody in the audience. What do you think about this rebrand? Are you going to continue with Twitter or X or whatever it is? Or are you not? I want to hear from everybody. All right, let's get to the poll of the week. We did
Yeah.
ask everybody a little bit late. We asked everybody on Monday, but we had an amazing response. So I think we might keep it to Mondays. We're
Mm.
going to try Wednesdays again. We'll see what kind of responses we're getting, but we might be changing our polls to Mondays. So the question, what is the most common mistake that people make in interviews? Well, 47% of you said being unprepared. 29% of you said not asking good questions. 22% of you said being too nervous. This is really interesting because I wonder, what is considered unprepared? Is it like not doing the due diligence on the company or the people that you're talking to? So I'd be curious to ask that question and dig a little bit deeper. But what do you think about this, Audrey?
Yeah, for me, unprepared. Sometimes it's hard because, especially if you're really trying to to get a job. And in some markets, it's like, yes, you have a leisurely time and you're looking for it while you're working. But some people, it's like they've been unemployed, they're stuck, they're just like, really need to get the interview and get something going. So prepared is, yeah, it's sort of nuanced, I think, or there's maybe more to it. But I think not asking good questions. I think not coming prepared with some questions around who you're going to be working with,
Mm-hmm.
what the day-to-day is like, and digging into like company values and things,
Yeah.
and you don't have to know a lot about the company or the person who's interviewing you. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's funny because there's a bit of an expectation. It's like, you're going to do like 1,000 hours of research on this company that you're interviewing for. And you're like, I need to get a job. Like, and I have 15 interviews this week. Like, that's just unrealistic. Whereas I think if you have some really good, like 3 or 4 questions that can really target for you what the culture is going to be like, what the values are, what the day-to-day work is going to be. Because sometimes the job description and what the expectations are don't quite line up. So that's something I'm like, I always kind of, tip to people, but yeah.
Yeah. Naomi made a comment about asking around resume gaps.
Yes. Yeah.
We're seeing that so much more with
Yeah.
everybody's resume for a variety of different reasons that
Yeah.
like, I feel like that's not even something that should be a detriment to not hiring somebody anymore.
It shouldn't be a detriment, but I think you need to be able to have an answer, right? You don't want it that, because that's when your nervousness will kick in, like, especially depending on the person's sort of vibe about it.
Mhm.
If they ask you and it seems to be a thing that like they're not comfortable with, and then it makes you nervous. So I think, and I know our friend Lisa Fenton has a ton of resources and great advice around, parents getting back into the workforce and new moms, and working that
Great
gap,
point.
and showing that, like, even when you take a gap, it's not like I just stopped doing, maybe you did stop doing things, but for the most part, like, you have life experience outside of, your kind of job description. So I think there's more tolerance for that now.
And the transferable skills. Like, I think that's one of the things that people need to come prepared with is showcasing, if you do have a gap, what were you doing and what are some of the transferable skills?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of them.
Yeah. Or a pivot if you were in a different industry, but you want to get into this one, or for whatever reason, then understanding, like, what are the skills that I have that are applicable everywhere, and really helping your interviewer if they're not, solid on this, that most of the time it's, when I'm interviewing, I'm looking for attitude. I'm looking for curiosity. I'm looking for willingness to learn. And, I'm not looking for, oh, do you know every single Incoterm and what they mean? Like, there's a book for that. Like, I don't need you to recite the Incoterms to me. I need you to be willing to understand what they are and have a personality that works well with others, So.
Yeah. Well, and there was a couple of comments about generic questions. Like, the interviewer needs to come with better questions, because if you're asking generic questions, you're going to get generic answers, and that's not necessarily, a good fit, right?
Yeah. It's a collaboration. It's a party. It's not one person, like, it's a back and forth, right? Yeah.
I love that. I want to say hi to Shanul and Samson over on my personal LinkedIn. Thanks so much for joining us. Now, give us a bit of a market update before we get into our articles and start talking about fusion and nuclear power and $7 billion supply chains,
my day to day. So I think market update, I think things are moving really well. Volumes are down. I think people anticipated that for 2023. It'd be a weird year. We'd have sort of, not the same kind of volumes that we had last year. So everybody had that inventory, feel sort of glut, and people were kind of feeling that. Maybe this year is sort of the like, oh, we're going to eat healthy and not do what we did last year. In the West Coast, we are seeing it's been a roller coaster. Let's be honest. We saw a tentative agreement. We saw it rejected. Now we're back to a tentative agreement. And so hopefully that'll get finalized this week, because it's, there was 13 days where they were on strike. And then there's been sort of 2 or 3 weeks of just total uncertainty and like, oh, we're agreeing. No, we're not. We're on strike. No, we're not. So
do we go to work? Do we not go to work? Do we move freight? Do we not?
I know. Do I just like,
how do we live in this chaos?
It's tough. It's tough, especially since my teams, especially this year, worked really hard because of the timing issues we had last year. Worked so hard to be able to get things early, to be available in stores and meet. Like, we have launches, not just like, oh, inventory, like launches. And they work so hard. And so it's been a real challenge. And it just takes up our time, right? It takes so much more of my time or our logistics specialist time to be like, going through these things. So
Well, and
hopefully
we
they
need
get it
more
done.
time back, right? We need to be
Yeah.
strategic. We need to be
Yeah.
creative. I have not had, I know this is thoughts and coffee, but
Yeah.
I'm
We
not
don't
allowed to have
go.
caffeine today, and I have not had my coffee, and I think it's showing. I've got vacation brain
Yeah.
and no coffee
And
brain this
uncaffeinated.
morning. So I'm just going to apologize to
Yeah.
everybody out there right
Yeah.
now.
They're
If
fine.
anything sounds incoherent, it's because of those two things
Yeah.
at the moment.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to our first article.
Yeah.
So this article was on Reuters. First nuclear fusion plants to need $7 billion supply chains. Now
Mhm.
that's a lot of money. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I do not know a lot about nuclear fusion plants. But what they're saying is that most of the cost of the supply chain is going into getting the materials so that we can build the facilities for these. And I believe that we're constructing these facilities for sustainability, right? It's
Yeah.
better use of solar power, et cetera, et cetera. Now, this $7 billion supply chain isn't going to be like next year.
No.
They're actually saying between 2035 and 2050. But the really interesting thing is, if you read this article, they talk to the Fusion Industry Association. Now, they spent $500 million on this just last year alone. But what they're saying is they want to let supply chain professionals know, they want to let the industry know that this is coming,
Yes.
because they want to make sure that the right people are making the investments so that they can scale to make sure that they can hit the deadlines and the different things that they need with this $7 billion supply chain.
Mhm.
Anyways, what did you take away from this? What did you think?
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see. It's we have our challenges in cosmetics and beauty tools. People have their challenges in nuclear fusion, but the scalability and then where you're getting your raw materials from, of course, has become a really hot topic. And it's interesting to see the kinds of materials that they need, right? So they're sort of the expense is expected to go to high grade steel and concrete
Mhm.
and superconducting wire, right, to build the plants because you need them to have these special high temperature chambers. But then they also need like magnets, lasers, and power supplies. So, that's a whole other area of what they need. So it's interesting too. It does talk about how they're thinking about, we have these geopolitical issues that they have to be considered. So
And where are
yeah,
they
it's
sourcing
fascinating.
these products? And so the
Right.
other
Fascinating. Yeah.
question too is, because we talk about internal stakeholders, external stakeholders. So I guess the question is, how are they talking to their suppliers? What does that look
Mhm.
like? What support are they willing to give? What part of the investment are they willing to potentially give up front so that they can invest and
Yeah.
scale and be ready? Because
Yeah.
this is a very big undertaking, right? A
Yes.
$7 billion supply chain is not something that's going to happen overnight. And B, you have to work in partnerships to make sure that everybody is supported, because we've seen what it looks like when not everybody is supported. We saw that
Yes.
through the pandemic, where
Yeah.
people worked really well with their suppliers and
Yeah.
supported their suppliers, and the response from that, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the answer that what it showed, what happened when everybody worked
Mhm.
together. Sorry, I told you, no caffeine
Yeah.
and vacation brain.
No,
Um,
no,
and,
that's fair.
but we also saw the other side when people weren't collaborating and coming together and supporting
Yeah.
their suppliers, right?
And what we don't want to see is like we really want to move away from this sort of competitive adversarial kind of interactions. And I think if anyone's read like Mariana Mazzucato, you want to see how the private and public partnerships are lining up. So you want to see how this public procurement is being affected. You want to see how government subsidies or government investment is coming into play because in order to get the scale that they need when they want it, and have a positive effect,
Yeah.
on a sort of a broader, you know, economic improvement, then that those collaborations are needed.
So, Samson, on my personal LinkedIn, what do you think of the impact of LK99 to nuclear fusion, especially the tokamak fusion? So,
Nope.
Samson, I don't know enough about this, but I do want to address your question.
Yeah.
I think that in this article, if you go to the article, and I'll be posting the links to my personal LinkedIn after the show airs or finishes, go and check out the Fusion Industry Association. I think they would be the right people to be able to answer that. We just wanted to talk about that $7 billion supply chain and what it means and how we can actually do that. All right. So let's get to our second article. Now, I only just saw this yesterday. I'm not sure if most of you have heard about this, but Yellow Freight, 99-year-old trucking company, third largest in North America, I believe, claimed bankruptcy on Monday. And this article really talks about what is happening in the transportation side of supply chain right now with truck drivers. They've talked about how the industry does have ebbs and flows. And obviously, during the pandemic, there was a huge wave into the trucking industry and into supply chain. I think they were saying that at one point they had 8,000 companies enter in 1 month, but now they have more capacity than they do have freight in the trucking industry. And so what this means for, truck drivers who came in during the pandemic is that some of them are leaving to look at other jobs. It doesn't mean that there isn't work out there, but they are looking. I mean, if we had an influx of 8,000, they also talked about December 2020 to December 2022, 100,000 new owner operators.
Yeah.
So that's a lot, and if we have the freight and we have the freight moving, we needed that kind of capacity, but now we don't have that freight moving. They're saying that consumer spending is 3 times more right now on services than it is goods. So we've actually flipped the tables from when we were in the pandemic. So what did you think about this article anyways?
I mean, 2 things. I don't think that was a surprise for a lot of people that post-pandemic we'd move into more service-oriented spending, right? Because we're looking at hospitality and travel and things that we were unable to do when we had lockdowns and restrictions, or health measures. But I do think the second point on this industry as a truck driver, I don't think it's the easiest one. I think there's a toll on people's physical well-being. I think there's still an attitude around employing people that is maybe a little bit negative. These may not be the trust and high, sort of value relationship cultures that you might find in other supply chain roles. So I think as an industry, it's like, I don't know if, I think there's a segment of people who last, decades as drivers or decades in this industry. But I think there's a lot of people who kind of come into it for a certain reason and then get out, for various reasons. But also, I don't know that, like I said, some of the encounters that you see, you're like, that doesn't seem like a positive work environment.
Yeah. One of the things is with Yellow Freight, that happening on Monday, there's 30,000 people out of jobs. And I know that we do a really good job as an industry to rally around and help support and help find those people some jobs. And so I wanted to put that out there. And if you know anybody from Yellow, let's see what we can do to really help those folks out. I've been there, been through that, done that. It's not an easy time. So just even a buddy check. If you can't do anything else, just a buddy check, let's do that. But one other thing in the article that they said, supply chains are running more smoothly than since 2008. I wanted to run that by you. So that came from an index from the Federal Reserve Bank. I'm not entirely sure how they would know that supply chains are moving more smoother. But are they really?
I mean, that some of the delays are down. And like, honestly, I feel like I'm the only one of the few people moving goods this year. So, I mean, it helps when a bunch of people stop moving stuff and it just lets me move what I want. Yeah, that's helpful.
Right.
That made my job easier. Sure. But I don't know that that's like a good thing for anybody but me. But
well, and they're not taking into account like the action that they've had on the West Coast. right?
No,
With the
but that's, I
strikes and
mean,
things like
that's,
that.
yeah, that won't hit an impact until much later. I
Mhm.
think though, I think you have, when you drop some of the volumes, you can use the tools that you have. I think people have finally started investing in some digital tools and automated applications
Mhm.
that people hadn't done before. So people are settling into those. They take, takes a couple months to really get up to speed on some of those portals and those actions. I think people realize maybe where they were having, what you can control, right? You're looking at what you can control, and maybe it was employee training, maybe it was workflows, maybe it was, different things internally, and then externally things like COVID delay for at manufacturing, raw material shortages. Like I think those are starting to ease up. So I would say it's smoother now. Overall, yes, maybe that's true.
Okay, well, that's good. All right, let's get to our last one.
It's
So this
good. It's
is
not a
about
bad thing.
Domino's. I don't know if you're tired of hearing about Domino's, but
Yeah.
Domino's is killing it in the delivery game, and they have been for quite a while. Now, the thing that they've come up with recently is that you deliver excuse me. Domino's will deliver without a delivery address. All you have to do is send them a pin on Google Maps of where they need to meet you, and then you must give them a visual description of what you are wearing that day so that they can find you. Oh, and there has to be a spot for the driver to pull over.
Right.
I mean, is this the future of delivery for us in supply chain? Because if it is, I don't know, it could get a little confusing, don't you think?
I mean, it must be I mean, at some point, the future will be, yeah, they tap into your GPS or something, and they know where you are based
Oh,
on
that's
where you
just
are.
weird. That's not
Yeah, but I don't think that's not on the horizon. I think that's quite, a 5 to 10 year,
I hope
reality.
so.
So I think it's good. Like if you want to go to a park and you don't want to take a picnic and you're like, oh, what can I get? And maybe there's nothing local. And it's like, oh, I'll have them come here. So,
So they did say no Appalachian Trail.
well,
So you
sure.
cannot
Yeah.
order a Domino's pizza to the
Yeah.
Appalachian Trail.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
did say as long as it's within the Domino's delivery area.
Yeah. Yeah.
But one of the other things that it says in this article is that they will send you a Domino's logo to put on your phone, and all I could think about was the bat signal. I
Right.
was like, this is Domino's version of the bat signal. Like, what are you supposed to do? Hold up your phone so that it
Yeah.
shows the Domino's logo? I'm here. I'm I'm here. Not like green shirt, curly
No.
hair is gonna make the difference. It's gonna be the
Yeah.
Domino's logo on the
Yeah.
phone.
Then
Right?
they'll know. Yeah.
I just thought that was so funny with the bat signal. This is
Yeah.
Domino's version of
Wasn't it? I think it's Papa John's. It's all the pizza places who are really into like the delivery game. We're starting to see Papa John's here in Toronto, which I think is a US brand, but
it is.
apparently it's their delivery that is the thing.
Mhm.
So this is just another avenue for
All right. So if
competition.
you're thinking about your technology in the future for delivery drivers, truck drivers, etc., consider the bat signal,
Yeah.
sending it to a phone so that the phone can actually show their logo. Courtney said, did you see the Domino's deliver with a jetpack? No, but in this article, it also talks about how Domino's back in 2013 delivered their pizzas by drone in the UK and by robot in 2021. So to be honest with you, that doesn't surprise me. And I cannot wait to see what they come up with next, because I think they are the ones that are revolutionizing supply chain.
Yes.
I mean, I'm just going to put it out there. Bat signal and all. All right. Well, we have come to the end of the show. I just want to let you all know where I'm going to be.
Yeah.
So, of course, we've got LogTech Live happening on Friday. Oh, and Courtney has put the YouTube video in the comments of our LinkedIn. So go and check that out. Thank you so much, Courtney. And then I'm going to be at the Inland Distribution Conference with JOC the 25th to the 27th in Chicago. We don't have it on here, but the Woman in Supply Chain Forum is happening in November as well. And we are just about to start promoting the Face of Inclusion Virtual Summit, which is a diversity and inclusion summit happening virtually in September. And Blended and Let's Talk Supply Chain are huge sponsors of that. So really excited. And then we've got another LinkedIn Live, I think, that's coming up at the end of the month as well with Go Freight, which I can't wait. And then next week on Thoughts and Coffee, Tive is going to be joining me, and we're going to be talking all about tracking devices. So bring your questions, get all of your questions together, bring your questions because you're not going to want to miss this. Audrey, thank you so much for joining me today. And from Florida, I'm going to be here till Saturday, but I'll be back in my home studio next week. Thank you all for joining me. Thanks, Audrey.
Thanks.